Today we head north to Alaska for a little bit of northern exposure and the biggest test of Donald Trump's endorsement power yet. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is another declaration of truth from your host, Terry A. Hurlbut. Primaries took place in more than one state on August the 16th. Wyoming had its primaries, and those who voted in them definitely settled things with majority votes. Alaska is another matter altogether, because Alaska has rolled out a new way to ensure majorities, and perhaps those who promoted that new way might regret it, or they might not. In any event, if the tentative results hold, the Trump machine will have its most challenging test, but also another chance, if they know what to do with it. Before we start, I do want to shout out to the sponsor of this channel, which is Conservative News and Views, link in the description. Be sure to check out the awesome CNAV Store. Scroll down near the bottom for that link. Lots of good merchandise there, especially this t-shirt that I have chosen for today, which has a picture of a bunch of little fish arranged in the shape of a big fish to swallow a shark. Beneath this is one word: organize. And that is what Trump needs to do if he wants Alaska organized to swallow two sharks named Murkowski and Begich. Alaska results come to me from Decision Desk Headquarters, which is the election results pool for the mainstream media. I have a link to them in the description. But unlike the Wyoming case, Alaska results are far from complete. Alaska actually ran two elections on August the 16th. It held a special election for Alaska's at-large House seat after Representative Don Young, the grand old poobah who held that seat for many, many years, died in March. Alaska also held primaries for its Class 3 Senate seat, a regular at-large House race, and the governorship. But Alaska today does not hold separate Republican and Democratic primaries. They have gone in part to the open primary system of states like Washington and California. The top four vote-getters in these primaries advance to a unique kind of general election that uses ranked choice voting. Oh boy, ranked choice what? Let me explain. Ranked choice voting is the latest invention to avoid runoffs and eliminate vote splitting. Traditionally, a candidate might win a plurality, only because voters, having a choice between two or more candidates who promise to govern in a manner opposite the eventual winner, split their votes between those others. In fact, that is how Gaius Julius Caesar became Pontifex Maximus in 63 BC, which Romans listed as the year of the consulship of Marcus Tullius Cicero and Gaius Antonius Hybrida, known to us as Antony the Proud. Caesar ran for PM, and no fewer than 3 candidates ran against him. They all belonged to a faction calling themselves the Boni, thinking they were better than other Romans. But each of the 3 insisted on saying, "It's my turn, it's my turn." Well, guess what? Those 3 split their vote, and Caesar won. That's why it's called the Julian calendar, not the Cornelian calendar or the Calpurnian calendar or the Metellan calendar or whatever other kind of calendar. Who knows? We might not even have a decent calendar if Julius Caesar had lost that election, but I digress. To avoid this kind of vote-splitting result, voters in ranked choice voting state their first, second, third, and other choices on the front end. This process calls the event Round 1. Round 2 must wait until all precincts have reported their results, a vastly more complicated process. Round 2 eliminates the bottom vote getter and distributes the second choices by those voting for him among the remaining candidates. The next round repeats the process, except that third choices might now be necessary with the elimination of 2 candidates, and on and on and on, all the way down the line. The rounds continue until 2 candidates remain, or until any candidate gets a majority, which is 50% or more. Now, the Republican Party of Virginia nominated its candidates for the top 3 executive positions using ranked choice voting. It might not have achieved the best results for reasons that I will explain, and hey, I was there. Alaska is holding its special election to fill the at-large House seat with ranked choice voting. Currently, with 87% of precincts reporting, Mary Peltola, the Democrat, leads with 38.61% of the vote. Sarah Palin is second with 32.41%, and Nick Begich comes in third with 28.99%. Now, the Democrats might wish they didn't have ranked choice voting, because Mary Peltola would win right now if Alaska had no runoff. With a runoff, Sarah Palin and not Nick Begich would advance to it, and Ms. Peltola would have one more chance. But if voters have marked their ballots properly, Sarah Palin is likely a shoo-in, because those who voted for Republican Nick Begich are, I think, most likely to have listed Sarah Palin as the second choice. They then would rank Mary Peltola dead last in round 2. Sarah Palin would get all of their second choice votes and take her seat in the House. But that's the problem. How do you know that they've marked their ballots properly? I voted in that Virginia Republican ranked choice canvass, and I'll tell you what went wrong with it. Senator Amanda F. Chase of Chesterfield County was my choice. Senator, if you can hear me, I hate to tell you this way, but I don't think you advised your supporters properly. You told us to list you as first, second, third, fourth, and all the other choices all the way down the line. So consequently, some of my fellow supporters of you had their ballots thrown out after the first round. And you know what? The Alaska concept ballot would lend itself to that same kind of mistake. You see, it has a matrix of ovals with candidate name running down the far left column and ordinal numerals, meaning first, second, and third, along the top row. A voter has to look sharp and blacken in only one oval in any one column or one row. If they do it wrong, they'll throw out their ballot, at least after round 1. And then I saw something else I didn't much like to see. Along the title bar on my browser, when I loaded that concept ballot as a PDF, it names the private ballot company with the worst reputation, Dominion Voting Systems. Now, so much for the special election ranked choice voting round 1. Now we get to those top 4 primaries with 87% of precincts reporting. The top 4 vote getters in each of these primaries will go on to the general. But that means ranked choice voting at that point. Now, before I get into the details, I want to shout out to a sponsor who can really help you through the economic storms to come. That sponsor is OurSilverLines.com. Do you feel like you're working hard for your money just to get by? You're not alone. The fluctuating economy, employment issues, and unexpected changes in life have left many families struggling over the past few years. Now, collecting gold and silver can help shield you against many of these challenges. But if you're like me many years ago, you don't know where or how to start. Our Silver Lines helps by connecting you with thousands of members who are learning the secrets to creating and protecting true wealth by collecting precious metals. Whether you just want to collect rare and unique coins or take advantage of the business opportunities that company provides, they can help you learn to live an exceptional life. Visit OurSilverLines.com to learn how you can build a legacy for your future. Now, back to Alaska results. We'll start with that Senate race. Lisa Murkowski currently leads with 44.18% of the vote. Kelly Chivaka, who is Trump's favorite, comes in second with 39.81%. Next is the Democrat Patricia Chesbro with 6.18%. Now, that might not look like much, but remember, add it to Lisa Murkowski's total and you get a majority. Remember that when I talk about what advice each of these women might give to their followers. Now, below her, we see two Republicans, Buzz Kelly at 2.22% and Pat Nolan at 1.10%. We then have Ivan Taylor, Democrat, with 1.01%, and Edgar Blatchford, another Democrat, with 0.99%. Below them, we have 12 more candidates, all polling a lot less. They're all Republicans or independents, listed as other in the results. Election officials have named only 3 who are going on to advance to the general. They are Murkowski, Chewbacca, and Chesbro. They're still waiting to fill the 4th slot. Now we come to the House at-large race for the regular term that begins in January. Again, it's Mary Peltola, Democrat, at 35.16%. Then Sarah Palin, Republican, with 31.14%. Nicholas Begich, Republican, well, maybe, I'll get to that, with 26.81%. And Tara Sweeney, Republican, with 3.69%. Below them, we have 18 candidates. All of them are Libertarians, Republicans, or Independents. None of them even breaking 1%. So Decision Desk has called that race completely. The 4 candidates I named are all going to the general and no one else. Last, the governor's race. Incumbent Mike Dunleavy, the Republican, leads, but with 41.76%. Bill Walker, Independent, is second with 22.11%. Les Scarra, the Democrat, has 21.94%. Now, I'd say the contest for slot 4 is between Charlie Pierce at 6.83% and Christopher Kirka with 3.93%. Now, both of those men are Republicans. Below them, we have 5 more candidates, including Republicans, Libertarians, and Independents, and none of them are breaking 1%. Okay, now, let's talk about what happens next. First, I doubt that any mainstream media organ, particularly here in the lower 48 or down south or outside, as they call it in Alaska, understands what these results really mean. So that is why I will not cite them. And I'm not even going to talk about them. Besides their paywalls, I wouldn't trust any organ outside of Alaska. And so far, I don't really have any chatter out of Alaska. Now, if any of you listen to this, if you live in Alaska, feel free to leave a comment. Mike Dunleavy, first of all, has a decent shot at plumping out his lead to get more than 50% in round 1. If he gets that, that's it. Game over. Call the race. Even ranked choice voting stops when one candidate gets a clear majority. But if he doesn't, then Bill Walker, the Independent, becomes the Kingmaker. What will he tell his followers to do with the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th choice ovals? Stay tuned. Now, the Senate and House races are much more important, because at least to us down southers, because they affect national policy. And they're also the ones getting the national attention, which they deserve for that reason. First, let's talk about Sarah Palin. She will have to trust in 3 things. First is the soundness of the advice she gave on how to mark a ranked choice voting ballot. Second is the integrity of the election. Third is whether Nick Begich really is a Republican. See, his grandfather Mark was a Democrat, and in fact he was part of the most prominent Democratic family in Alaska. Now, did he advise his voters to mark Sarah Palin as their second choice and rate Mary Peltola dead last, or did he do vice versa? Or did he blow it and just tell everybody to list him as 1st, 2nd, and 3rd choice? We're going to find out at the end of August. And remember, whoever wins that special election has the advantage of incumbency going into the general. Now, Kelly Chewbacca, who has Donald Trump's endorsement, has a worse problem. She is behind Lisa Murkowski, the incumbent senator, in the top 4 primary. As of this moment, Kelly Tshibaka does not have enough votes, counting hers and those of other Republicans, to eclipse Murkowski. Worse yet, Democratic voters would have no reason not to list Lisa Murkowski as a choice ahead of Tshibaka. The other Democratic candidates, who have 1% each, they don't matter. I don't even expect them to make it to the general. Bottom line, the only way Palin or Tshibaka wins is to campaign against the Democrat and the other Republican, both. To do that, each of them must break the mystique of moderation and the dynastic legacies of the Murkowski and Begich names. Now, Donald Trump has his own problem. He must decide how badly he wants Alaska to have a senator and a House at large man more to his liking. Now, to do that, he or his proxies must change the entire political culture in the state. This new ranked choice voting system might turn Alaska purple or even blue. In any case, it favors the mushy middle. Now, in theory, Kelly Tshibaka might peel off enough of Lisa Murkowski's voters to take the lead in round 1. But as soon as Murkowski figured out what's happening, she might spitefully tell her followers to mark Chesbro, the Democrat, as their second choice. In fact, we don't know that they don't already have a pact to each tell her followers to mark the other as second choice. Remember, if you add the vote totals of Murkowski and Chesbro together, you get a majority. Now, Liz Cheney set the precedent, don't forget. So Tshibaka must peel off as many voters as possible for Murkowski and Chesbro both. There is no way around it. Add to it, Lisa Murkowski had not given nearly as much offense to Republicans, even nationwide, as did Liz Cheney. There was no Senate Select Committee on the January 6th attack, don't forget. But she did vote to convict Trump in his second impeachment trial in the Senate. After that, the Alaska Republican Party censured her, and they've given Tshibaka the party line. Still, it is Murkowski who holds first place in that top 4 primary. Now, Sarah Palin has a better shot at that House seat. The front runner is also the only Democrat in the race. But how if Nick Begich and Mary Peltola made a pact to each tell their followers to mark the other as second choice? That sinks Palin. And if they've done that in advance of the special, that could send Peltola to the House immediately. So what do you think Trump is going to do? Will Trump schedule more rallies in Alaska? Will he build a fleet of puddle jumper aircraft to carry his message to the Alaskan bush? Stay tuned. Better yet, leave a comment. Let's talk about it. And especially if you live in Alaska, want to tell us outsiders or down south people about Alaska politics, or even if you just want to tell us all to stay down south and not presume to interfere, leave a comment. That goes for all the candidates I named or their staffs. Link in the description to the article, to the Decision Desk results page, and the Conservative News and Views. I've also left links to the awesome CNAV Store and to oursilverlines.com, as I also mentioned. If you like what you've heard, you can like this video. On the end screen, I'm going to leave a subscribe link, maybe also a link to my Rhinos Be Gone video. This is Terry A. Hurlbut, delivering another declaration of truth and reminding you to let the truth set you free.